What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I am back with a review. This time I am reviewing the DC Collectibles Arkham Knight Red Hood figure. This is a really cool design. It's a sought-after figure. It's a GameStop exclusive, actually. I'm sorry I didn't say that in the beginning. My son and I went all over the place searching for him after I had watched ODC That's Me and Rob's Rogues and Automatica's reviews. And I was like, shit, I need to have this character because I didn't even know he existed because I've been trying to stay away from all the spoilers for Arkham Knight because I'm pretty sure I already figured out who the Arkham Knight is. You know, spoiler alert, it's this guy. It's gotta be. I saw some, Play Arts Kai figures and they had the same guns in the package. So I don't know, either at some point he takes up the mantle or it's him, or maybe the Arkham Knight beats the shit out of Jason Todd and takes his guns. I don't know. But anyway, it's a cool looking figure. He's not perfect. I think he's been overhyped because the design is so cool. People are not paying attention to his shortcomings as a figure. But overall, he does a lot of things right, and I'm going to go into extreme detail to point out to you what those things actually are. So let's do this thing. Also, it's cool to finally get this thing after I ordered it from GameStop.com. And it was a pain. I went to all the stores in my area and nobody knew what I was talking about except for one store, and it was pre-ordered so they couldn't sell it. As a former employee of GameStop, it just doesn't surprise me how stupid how poorly trained so many of the employees are. But anyway, let's go. So just looking at this figure, it's freaking phenomenal. It's an awesome design, and the majority of the design is properly captured. My big issue with the sculpt on this figure, I think maybe it's the paint. Maybe the paint was applied too thick, or the sculpt was too soft and not sharp enough, because there's a lot of things that just look like, like slop from far away, and then when you get up close, you're like, oh, those are pins. Oh, that's a piece of, armor around his neck, or near his neck. Oh, this is segments, and, this is like a slash or something. But, from far away, some things, like his jacket, it's pretty well painted when you get up close, but from far away, it kind of looks, I don't know, like the paint is not as cleanly applied as it should be. But overall, he has a decent paint job. He has okay articulation. DC Collectibles is getting better with that. And I really dig, some of the individual pieces and the way that they used, kind of like NECA does, they used different materials to get across the different parts of his costume, like the pliable, softer plastic hood. I wish the hood actually sat lower on his head, though, because it makes his head look extra long, and when you pull the hood back, you realize that it's not that long. It's just, where it's sitting, it appears that way. But he looks really cool. He looks cool sitting next to Batman in any kind of battle situation. He probably would look even cooler fighting Batman. I don't have the Arkham Knight version of Batman yet. I wasn't planning on getting him, but also I saw reviews where I got to see it in motion and, see people move him around and stuff. And that figure actually looks really dope in real life. At first, I didn't like him. He looked like he had on football pads and Iron Man armor. But, the more I look at it, the more it's grown on me. And it kind of looks like, a heavy armor, heavy attack, heavy battle Batman, if that makes any sense, Like, this is for the real shit, when shit really gets, crazy. I don't know. Dude's design is well thought out, though, for the most part. The hood looks like it has breathing apparatus inside of it, or apparatuses, I don't know, whatever the plural is of apparatus. He's got the cool, magazines on his legs so that he can, just pop out the ones in his guns and slide the guns up against those and pop them in. It looks really good. It makes sense, I like the shin guards and the buckles and everything. It's just standard DCUC level of detail and attention to detail. I mean, you can see everything. All the different pegs are painted the right color, or they were cast in the right color to match the design. None of that shit we get with Spider-Man all the time where he's blue and so he gets red pegs because one side is red and they just didn't feel like painting it, you know? None of that shit here, you know? All the detail is still present even on the spots that are covered up, like the waffling going on up, you know, on his sides. The belt is sculpted all the way around. Really good stuff. I like his homemade bird symbol. It's pretty dope. The fact that he just, you know, kind of smeared some red paint all over his shirt and on his, you know, his jacket. And there's a little stitch mark, like everyone's pointed out from, I guess, getting slashed before. The mask is kind of ominous, you know, because you can't really tell where the eyes would, I mean, you know where they should be, but there's no distinct eye area and mouth area. It's just a red shape. And it's not even like a human face shape. It's like this weird, almost essence of like an Egyptian, you know, almost like a pharaoh mask or something, you know, with that big chin piece that just keeps coming out, you know. But I like it. It's really unique, as opposed to just a red dome or a red version of like Deadpool's mask or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is very unique and unlike any of the other characters that you've seen in the DC or the Marvel universe. And I dig that. It's one thing I've always said about Rocksteady is they have the design process for Batman characters on lock. If you're making a movie for Batman, you should completely copy this aesthetic because it makes sense. The hood looks nice. Even the little padding pieces on his biker jacket, it's pretty nice. It looks good. I was impressed. And, you know, I've never really had a Red Hood figure. Even the one I bought from the Capullo series. I got him for different reasons. And it's nice to have a Red Hood figure that actually looks badass. You know, he really looks badass. He doesn't look like anything I've seen in the DC UC before. Something to note is he's the first figure I have from DC Collectibles that does not have the clear pegs in the crotch. Thank goodness. Maybe Deathstroke? I don't know. I have to check him. But here's a size comparison so you can kind of see where he stands against other DCU or DC Collectibles, Mezco, and then SH Figuarts. So he's on the 7-inch side, so he's more in scale with your DC you know, collectible stuff. I really dig what they've done, you know, proportionally. I dig the, you know, all the little paint details, all the sculpting details. There's a lot of detail on him. That's why I took so much time to focus on all this and got all this stuff out of the way. He looks really good, you know. They did a really good job with, you know, the majority of the visuals of this figure. I'm impressed. They're upping their game. So accessories. Mr. Todd only has these 2 pistols for his accessories. I think it would have been cool if he had like a knife and some explosives and, you know, maybe even a grapple gun of some sort. But I mean, maybe he doesn't really use that stuff. I'm just going by what I know of him in the comics and in Under the Red Hood. But, you know, as far as, I guess, memorable accessories, the pistols have to be it because, I mean, he always has 2 pistols. Now, these things are big. It's almost as if he has some kind of an infatuation with Dante from Devil May Cry, because these are even bigger than Ebony and Ivory. I like the design. They're pretty ominous looking. They look like, you know, these things are hand cannons. The design's really nice. They look like huge versions of... They pretty much look like beefed up versions of, you know, Dante's pistols. But I like them. They have their own little identity. You know, it's just that Devil May Cry is the first thing that comes to mind. They're made out of a lightweight but brittle plastic. But I think that even though it's a more brittle plastic, it's not flimsy, and it doesn't feel like it will crack anytime soon. So if he happens to take a couple falls, he'll be fine. The detailing is wondrous, because it's pretty simplistic. And simple sometimes is the best way to go. The grip is painted brown, like it's either leather or, you know, some kind of like polycarbon, you know, whatever, grip. The little bird symbol is on there, and there's like a slide piece at the bottom that there's a line that's painted black, and it makes him look pretty badass, you know? So if you want to look like a badass, and you got these big ass guns, it's kind of easy to do it. And you know, it complements him. You know, this design is all about menace and, you know, being badass, and it seems to really complement him and make him look like a badass. And you know, that's what we want out of this character. So, you know, DC Collectibles did it right. Okay, Mr. Todd's articulation is, the head is on a ball joint. It's hard to move because of the hood, so I'm not going to really mess with it, but you can kind of move it, you know, a little bit, you know, if you mess with the right portions of it. Let's see. Ball jointed shoulders that move out this much. They move up a little bit more, but I don't want to force it because I don't want to break it, because even though there's new joints in there, different joints, I don't want to end up with the issues that we had in the past, you know, because that stuff sucked. Let's see. Bicep swivel. His arms move up this much. The jacket doesn't really stop his arms from moving up. They still move up fine. They move down this much. There is a bend at the elbow. It's double jointed, so he can get his arms really close, way more than 90 degrees. He's got a twist at the, or swivel at the wrist, as well as a hinge. I wish that they were just ball jointed, because then his gun aim and everything would look so much better. He does have an ab crunch. I want you guys to see that. Ab crunch. Sorry for the dead air. So he has an ab crunch that far forward when standing up straight. And I want you to look at his legs so you can see he is standing up straight. And then he moves this far back, while also standing up straight. Not very much. And you know, this is my complaint with a lot of these figures, is that, you know, if you're going to give them articulation, give them articulation. Especially the Bat family, they're all fighters and they're agile and whatnot. His legs go up forward that much. Kind of weird. There is a bicep swivel. Legs go out at the side, less than the new new Spider-Man figure. What kind of kick? This guy was trained by Batman and that's his kick, so no, not enjoying that. Double jointed knees, those are good. He doesn't have anything at the boot, but he does have a very nice ankle pivot. The difference though with his ankle pivot versus what we're used to is his feet point outward. So you keep them flat instead of, you know, you just expand the distance and then you know, increase the distance, and his legs stay flat like so. You know, I've shown you this even in the Spider-Man videos because I love those you know, joints. Instead, his legs kind of stick out, so it's not the best ankle pivot, but it's there, you know. So considering that, you know, a lot of times this is something that a lot of DC Collectibles figures don't do, it's kind of weird that that's what it came out with. And then I want to point out that figures like Deathstroke here from the Arrow series, somehow he can do it. I mean, it still kind of juts out, but like, look at how far down he can get. I don't know, I like this Deathstroke figure. I thought I wasn't really gonna like him. I bought him hoping that he was gonna be, you know, really agile in comparison to the Arkham Origins version, and I actually was right. He is more agile. It's easier for you to pose him. You don't have to worry too much. But yeah, so all in all, oh yeah, and he's got a toe hinge. Move down that much and up that much, and that is it. So yeah, all in all, he's got okay articulation, nothing special. Oh, he has a waist swivel. I'm sorry, I forgot that. Jeez, you would think I've never done this before. But yeah, that's his articulation. So, my big issue with this figure is his articulation. He has good articulation in terms of points of articulation, but as far as engineering that articulation, they didn't really do a good job of it. He holds his guns in such a weird kind of angled position that you really have to twist him up in an inhuman kind of way, twist his arms up, to get him to hold the gun straight. Now, I'm going to illustrate what I mean because I know there's people that are going to say, what are you talking about? Blah, blah. I can see your faces twisting up right now. So, SH Figuarts Akiba Red. These aren't even holding things hands, and he's holding the guns perfectly. And you can see that his arms are a little closer, like bicep in to his chest, and he's pointing forward. This way you can see that he's aiming directly in front of him, you know? The way that like Dante would in Devil May Cry, the way that the Red Hood does even in the various animated versions of the character, and even in the comics. Even when he holds out the gun outstretched at his side, this is the same situation. He can stretch his arm straight out, his wrist locked, and the gun is straight. Because that's the way that you would fire off a gun, especially one this big. You know what I'm saying? And it looks thorough when you do this, you know? And I want you to understand that I sat here and I posed him and I tried to even do like trick photography and, you know, angle myself so that the gun looked straight, you know, and his arm looked perfectly straight, and he can't do it. I'm like, seriously? It was the same issue I had with the DC Direct Hush. His arms didn't aim straight in front of him. They kind of jutted out to the sides. So when the Arkham City version came out, I was so happy that he could aim directly in front of him. And this is another angle so you guys could see what I'm talking about. The arm needs to be able to be straight. You know what I mean? And then the gun and the wrist. He needed like the upward wrist action, up and down wrist action that G.I. Joes have on one hand. So do you see what I'm talking about? Like he holds the gun up. So you always have to put his elbows down for him to fire directly in front of him and to look like he's firing directly in front of him. This would look cool if like I put the muzzle flash, like say I'm doing, you know, a photograph and I want him in action. I put the muzzle flash lower as if he just shot and the gun is actually popping up from the kickback. But like when you have him aiming, that doesn't look right. And look, his arm is as straight as I can get it. And it just doesn't, no. You know what I'm saying? That's not the way it should look. And no, I mean, maybe a few people, I think Automatica pointed out that it's kind of off. I can't remember. Someone did though. They pointed out that it's kind of off, but the majority of the reviews, nobody said anything. And I'm like, look, the only thing this guy does, the only accessory he comes with is 2 guns. He should have full articulation and freedom and the ability to point his arms the right way directly in front of him. So while I commend DC Collectibles for upping the ante on the articulation and making, you know, the sculpt and the articulation work a little bit better together, I can't give him props fully for the articulation because the one thing he's supposed to do, he doesn't exactly look right doing it. The only way you can get him to look right is to do like I did in the images above, and I think I have more images of this later on, is do the whole gangster shit where you turn the gun sideways and, you know, aim that way, and then he could probably shoot directly in front of him. But I can't believe they made the figure and this was something that, you know, they completely missed. It almost feels like this, coupled with how goopy some of the paint is, it just shows that this was a quick cash-in. It almost feels like it was a last-minute thing. And they didn't put the level of thought into it like they did with a lot of the other characters. Because from what I see with the other figures, they don't have these issues. You know what I mean? They really don't. And for him to be kind of a pivotal character in the series, in the movie, in the game, Jesus. It's just strange to me that somehow this managed to get past QC and whatnot. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that. These are the things that I always talk about when I'm complaining about the lack of engineering in American figures versus Japanese figures. It's just not consistent. Look at Deathstroke. His arms are He's wearing more armor and more shit than Red Hood, and he can put his arms directly in front of him and aim two guns directly at you with the same, at the same exact level and everything. That's what I want to be able to do with Red Hood. That's what you should be able to do with a guy whose only accessories are two giant pistols. All my cops figures, including Big Boss, could do this. Why is it that this figure that was made in 2015 can't? You know what I mean? So, that's my gripe. And I know you're going to say, oh, you're being so hard on the figure. No, it's obvious that if you make a character that carries a specific weapon, he should be able to do what he's supposed to do with said weapon. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's the way it should be. So for, so many people to review the figure pretty much just based on the design, no, that's not enough. The design is cool. The articulation for the most part is really cool, but he needs to be able to do this. Now, if you don't care about that and you're going to have him with the guns up at his sides, then I guess you got a winner, right? Because you're not going to touch him, you're not going to move him, you're not going to pose him, so that's it. So, Deathstroke is showing him how it's done. And, I wish he was a little bit more posable in that way. So, the bottom line is, we have a really cool figure. He's got a couple issues. It almost feels like if he came out at the tail end of the line, he would have probably been a little bit better. But it's not a bad figure. It's definitely a step in the right direction from DC Collectibles. He continues that really dirty, grungy look that has become the trademark of the Arkham series in general. And, everything seems to work with this guy as far as aesthetics go. Articulation is kind of, there's areas that could use some improvement. But, you can get some good poses, and if you're creative and you actually play with your figures, I'm sure you can figure out ways to achieve higher kicks and, all that kind of good stuff. I think a lot of people are really hyped about the character because of the design and not so much the figure itself as it appears, as it is in your hand. And I'm not saying this because I hate the character or anything like that. I'm just saying this because this is an objective review of a figure. Yes, he's a really cool design, but, as a figure, there's some things he's supposed to do that he doesn't exactly do. So, he doesn't exactly do it well, So, I have to point that stuff out. But if you like the Arkham, aesthetic, and you like this character, shit, there's no reason for you not to get the figure. You will have issues because it's a GameStop exclusive. If you try to go into a GameStop, just be prepared that they may not know what the hell you're talking about because it's GameStop. But, if you want to kind of have it easy, hurry up and order him online. It's the easiest way. Come straight to your house. You don't have to worry about any of the bullshit. And he'll be in relatively good condition, because the warehouse packs him pretty well. But yeah, overall, I really don't have much more to say. I'm not complaining. It's not a bad figure. So, yeah. I don't know. It's, he's definitely a solid 8 out of 10. I think he is going to be an overhyped figure. He's already showing up on eBay for, $100, 120 something bucks. I was like, get the fuck out of here. You guys do the same shit with every figure that comes out, and it's annoying. So, like I said, don't buy him off of eBay unless you get a deal. Go on GameStop.com, get him. This is the only time I'm going to tell you to do something involving GameStop because I hate the company. They're pretty fucked up with their business practices, and I don't condone going there. I don't really go there myself. So anyway, I'm Strident. This has been my review of the Arkham Knight Red Hood by the GameStop exclusive. Arkham Knight Red Hood by DC Collectibles. It's a decent figure. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And that's it for me. You've been great. Peace outside, folks.